Good morning, everyone. I recently picked up this giant elephant bush at a local nursery for $15, which was a total steal. So obviously I had to get it. It's enormous and it really needs to be pruned. So I figured I'd make a video about elephant bush today, which is one of my favorites. It's a little difficult to grow from a baby, but once it is a mature size, it's a really easy plant to have outside, especially if you live in a humid environment with sun. Likes a lot of sun. So this one has been living outside, I guess in partial sun. The other elephant bush that I actually have a few of them, including some variegated ones, which I prefer. But, you know, this one was such a good deal. How could I say no? They like direct sun. So that is where I keep them, out in the sun, and that's where this one will stay. I'm actually planning on moving this one over to this pot, which I think will be beautiful, and I'm going to try to maintain it a bit of a smaller size. These are great for bonsai also. I've seen a lot of videos of that. You could just YouTube and find a bunch. But yeah, I guess I'll be going for a large bonsai then, since I'll be pruning. The cool thing about elephant bush too is whenever you do trim it, you get entire new plants out of it. So just to zoom in, I've made a few videos already about nodes and the importance of them, but really the nodes are just the separations, right? Just the separations in the plant, and on elephant bush you see them throughout the plant, right? So you see one there, one there, one there. Here, here, here. So really at every point you see the leaves coming out, that's going to be a node because it's growth point. And what's cool about the elephant bush is every time you trim at a node, you're going to see growth on both sides. So especially if you trimmed it at the top, you know, like where you have, and especially that's because that's a crusty top, if I trim that back to the last node, there's going to be 2 new growth points that grow from it. Which also then means if you're going to have a big plant, these branches are going to get pretty heavy. So when it came out this morning, because of this heavy branch on the right, the plant had actually knocked over. So I know that I need to take off those heavy side branches. I might even take them off pretty close to the stem, so that way it can look, there's my son, more full on top, because I do want it to look more like a tree than a bush. So that's what we're gonna get into today. So we're gonna be doing some trimming, and they do root pretty easily. In my experience though, they've taken more time to root than some of my other plants. So as long as you have a little bit of patience and keep them out of direct sun for the rooting process, they might get a little funky looking, but they usually come back. So I usually have mine in indirect sun when I am rooting them. All right, so we're just gonna get up in here, especially these hanging ones on the bottom that are going way below the plant. This is not gonna work. And I'm noticing now how low this branch is. I think I'm gonna take off the whole branch at the bottom and leave it more of a bare stem on the bottom with some more growth. So we're just gonna get in there and do that. Actually, I might show you. I'm gonna show you where I'm gonna make this clip. So this one is all the way down here, so I might have to dig in a little bit in order to even do the clip in the beginning. You obviously want to have clean shears and make sure when you're clipping, especially close to the stem, you're getting as close to the stem as you can. So that's going to be a big giant branch right there. So that's going to grow into its own really big plant, and it already has a lot of branches sticking out. All right, this is so thick I might even need larger shears. Let's see if I got it. Oh, I did. Not the cleanest cut, but still a good one. So this branch, actually this one wasn't even the reason that it was falling over, but look, that's like an entire new plant right there. This is gonna be fun. All right, so I guess I'll just, I'll lay these down on my dirty papers. And the next big one, I'll get all the big ones out first so that way it doesn't flop over again, is this one. So another one that's down pretty low. Sorry, I want to show you these, but it's hard to do. So I took off the lowest one, as you can see, and then there's 2 branches above that. Definitely want to get the 2 of those off on the left side and right side there too. The right side one was the reason it was falling over. So it's gotta go. So we're gonna get that off. And it is a pretty fast grower in my experience. Again, I live in zone 10B, so it tends to be that way. Get behind it here, better access. These are really, really good branches. Wow. I probably should have gotten my larger shears for this. Please cut it. I might have to get larger shears. Wow, because I don't want to angle it. Yeah, so generally, you know, you want to have the right equipment so that way you don't cause damage to the plant. Try one more time. I just need another. There we go. All right, that actually wasn't too bad. So here we go, another big guy. Wow, this is huge. And then this one is just way too long on here too, so I'm gonna have to trim that branch. Maybe I'll leave some of it on there. And then this one's too long, these random branches. I'm gonna figure all that out afterwards. I'll just lay them aside and deal with it then. This one actually has some broken branches here too, so that is gonna be, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get all these off. No worries, they're all gonna be new plants. This one just fell off on its own. Probably in the fall. Back for this one. So the rest are a little bit thinner than that last branch, so hopefully these shears are good. There we go. Elephant bush is one of my favorites too if you're doing an arrangement. I like to refer to it as the baby's breath of succulents because it looks good, really. It looks good on its own, I think, especially the variegated one, but it looks good with any other ones. You know what, I kind of like this branch. I think I might leave this branch. And maybe just trim the side ones down. We're gonna keep that branch, but we are not gonna keep this giant hanging one here. Maybe we will. Maybe we'll cut this back. All of these should come back. Okay. All right, we're just gonna do it. Okay, and for pruning purposes, you do want to cut. If you're cutting right above a node, that's where you're going to see the growth coming out of the node. So if you're pruning something, you want to cut it above the node. And then what I usually do is I'll just trim off the end of the stem. So then that way the roots, when I plant it again, will come from the next node a little bit further up. So I'll show you what I mean. Yeah, when I decide which one I want to cut. Well, this is falling. This is falling all around. So we'll cut that there. Okay, so I cut it again for pruning purposes on the actual one right above that node, and then this node here is where the new roots are going to come out. So you can either leave the stem, it'll usually just like wither back eventually anyway, or you can cut right here again. Depends on if you want to, you know, keep that growth there or not. We'll see what I'm going to do with it, but it can callus off as is. I kind of like the way that looks like that. to. I think I'm going to try to prop it up so this is standing a little bit more to the center, but I like the lean of it too. I think it's going to fit really nicely in this bowl, so I'll show you an update, and I think I'll show you an update too when we start to see some new growth, which should be relatively soon. But to be honest, I like the way it looks as is. And I have this pile of plants, and these giant branches here. So much to work with, and a beautiful elephant bush. And these are all the cuttings I have now. I am going to let them callus for a couple days, and then I'm going to get them into, actually probably not even all of them, some of them into some soil, well draining mix, not going to water until I see some root growth, and keeping them in indirect sun. Right. And here it is. I also put this in well draining soil, and I topped it off with some Jack's Gritty mix to make it look pretty in the pot. Hi everyone, we are at least a month out from transplanting my big elephant bush, and I've left this one out in full sun, just getting rainwater whenever, haven't watered it otherwise, and she's beautiful. So I'm so happy with how I did the clippings. I'll still probably clip some more because I think this branch is coming off a little bit too much, but I'm happy that it has a more full trunk. What you will notice though is that the places that I clipped on the trunk have sprouted some new growth as expected. Yeah, you can see some weeds grow too. Yeah, you can see coming out these little baby ones. I will probably let them grow a little bit longer before I chop them off again, so that way they're big enough that they can survive on their own. And let's see if I can find a good spot. I can't even remember where I clipped. I did so many clippings, but on many of the spots when I did the clippings, you know what? I'll just show you. I'll really just show you all the spots that are clipped here. And any spots that have been clipped, even though they look kind of ugly on the end, you'll see that there's, yeah, there's two new growth points activated. And this is pretty typical here. I think you see one. Here at the top again is another two. And again, I can't even remember which ones. It's possible that these were all points that I cut. See another one with two growing out. Where else did I cut? I can't remember, but you get the idea everywhere where it's cut. And eventually it calluses over and doesn't look quite as ugly when it grows out. Here's another one. This one is definitely one that I cut because these ones are a little bit shorter. Yeah, and in the middle, again, you'll see the callus for a little while, but this one, the callus doesn't actually look too bad. I'm not sure if you can really see it in there. But it's also covered by the leaves. So I'm so happy with how this one looks. I love it. In fact, I kind of want to get another messy one and then just chop it up. Let's move over now. Okay, so I had been keeping the cuttings inside in various places, which I did show. I did try to cover the ends of a couple of them with cinnamon to see if that promoted any growth, and really it hasn't, except on the end here that looks like that's a root that's about to grow. Otherwise, not so much. I did have them just laying out, many of them. Let's see, I have a few examples here. And really, I have gotten no growth, and I was starting to get a little frustrated. I know that elephant bush takes longer to root. So I'll show you in a second the one that I put in water a week ago. But maybe let's just look at these. So the ones that are in soil do actually look a little bit nicer than the ones I just laid out flat. Also expected. But still no root growth on these either. So again, I expected it to take a while, but I figured after, I know, maybe 4 or 5 weeks that there would be a little bit more growth, which is why I decided to take one cutting and put it in water. So here is one of the cuttings I put in water just to see if that would grow in a week, because I was getting frustrated, and lo and behold, a week later, and we have a giant root on it. So I may end up taking some of the ones from outside inside, the ones that are starting to get a little wilty, because this seems to be a really easy way to grow them. Sometimes transferring though from water to soil, they have a little bit of trouble because they're used to, you know, growing in water. So you do need to keep it a little bit more heavily watered when you're transferring it. But this might be the way to go with elephant bush if you're doing clippings. My indoor examples did not fare any better. Both the regular, the one with no cinnamon, and the one with cinnamon, right? No growth yet. No growth yet. They both look pretty awful. They both look pretty awful here. So I might actually just transfer these to water to see if I can get them to grow better too. So experiment. In this case with cinnamon, didn't seem to make any difference, even though it does on other succulent plants. I have some other videos that show comparisons. This one didn't matter. Really, the only thing that got the cuttings to grow quickly was water propagation. So I'm gonna move some over based on that knowledge. Thank you for watching.
Subscribe.